Hi, so in Battle for Azeroth, weapons are going to be changing in three very important ways. The first of which is obvious. We're no longer going to have artifact weapons, we're going to be moving back to normal weapons. That means no relics, which means no netherlight crucible. Hooray! But of course we all know that. The second piece of information that was revealed was that weapons will not titanforge. This was announced at the Q&A a little bit ago. Probably a lot of people know that as well. The maximum it can do is warforge plus 10 item levels. This was relatively good news for classes and specs that get a lot of benefit from weapon damage. Some specs get more than others. You may recall that when the aforementioned and accursed netherlight crucible was released, some specs got automatic buffs just across the board buffs. It wasn't because those specs were underperforming at the time. It was because when the netherlight crucible came out, we could instantly upgrade our relics by 5 item levels each. And that meant that classes and specs, such as the one I play, Retribution Paladin, would get more benefit from that because we benefit from weapon damage. And there's some specs that don't, where a lot of their stuff is based really on attack power, not so important. So if weapons could have titanforged, that would have meant that RNG would play a massive part to play in how effective you could be, because let's say two people playing the same spec that play specs that get a lot of benefit from weapon damage, means one person could get really lucky and get the maximum titanforge weapon, the other person just getting their baseline versions. If both those players play equally as well, the person with the titanforge weapon is going to do not just a bit better but a lot better. So they've removed that. 10 item levels still could have been significant, but at least it's not that bad. And of course the chance to get a warforged is much higher than the chance to get a very high titanforge, for example. But that's not the news I'm really talking about here. There's something even more recent, a third piece of really crucial news, and that weapon damage isn't going to matter a damn anymore. The latest round of data mining from the Battle for Azeroth Alpha has revealed something very interesting, and that is that all of the spells that currently are based upon weapon damage have been changed, so they're only based on now attack power. So all spells that are based on anything are based on attack power. All the yellow damage, as it's called, the special abilities, anything that's not auto attacks. So auto attacks, of course, will still depend on your weapon item level, of course, because that's just based on that. But it means all our other attacks are only going to be based on attack power. What that means is, in layman's terms, let's say your weapon in Battle for Azeroth isn't all that high as an item level. That's fine. It can be compensated by being extra lucky with titanforge in other slots. In theory, what it means is the weapon is just purely another piece of equipment. That's all it is. You need to have it equipped to be able to use certain abilities. Like I have abilities, for example, that require a two-handed weapon, so I can't just wander around with a one-hander and a shield as a Retribution Paladin. But the weapon damage itself doesn't affect the individual damage of all my abilities apart from my auto attacks. So that's really interesting. What that means is this disparity that there is with certain specs in terms of the power that they get from their weapon disappears overnight. Now, just a couple of things to bear in mind, of course. As we know, it's not a simple case of it's your overall item level that will determine how powerful you are, because you can have two people with the same item level with two different attack powers, because, of course, it depends on what your best pieces are. For example, if you've got high titanforged, I was going to say neck there, but that's going to be the Heart of Azeroth. Heart of Azeroth. I don't really know exactly how that's working just yet. But let's say rings, they have no primary stats on them, so unless that changes, then high item level in that, okay, great, you're going to get a load of secondary stats, but that's not affecting your attack power. It's only the primary stat that affects your attack power. So you might have lower attack power than someone who's got their higher pieces in other slots. The other thing is that some slots just have straight up more stats than others. So a pair of wrists, for example, of a certain item level has less of a primary stat than a chest piece. That's just how it is. And of course, it's very likely that the item with the most stats on it, the highest stat budget, will still be the weapon. So it's not that weapon won't matter. You know, it's not that, okay, well, as long as I get a particular item level, it'll be just as good. It doesn't matter which bits, warforge or titanforge, and which bit, as long as the overall package is right. It won't be quite like that. You'll still always get some benefit from that. But it's the same same benefit that everyone else gets. So every class and spec will be treated equally in this regard because it's all been based off your primary stat. And that, as I say, can be compensated with being extra lucky with other pieces as compared with just the weapon. So that's actually really good news. Let me know what you think in the comments below about it. Is it going to affect your spec? Is it not? Hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, don't forget to give it a like, subscribe for further content. And until next time, I'll see you later.